What's going on, guys? During the whole serpentine belt changeover, I'm doing things a little bit at a time. So today I'm messing with the new alternator. A lot of people, they like to paint the outside of the alternator. I'm not necessarily going to do that on my alternator, but I am going to clean it up as best as I can. And as you can see, the previous owner, they actually painted this one black. I have mixed feelings about it. It kind of just blends into everything. You can't really see it. So I guess if you want to go for that effect, you know, more power to you. If you want to paint it red or orange or green or purple or pink or, you know, whatever. I'm going to show you how to disassemble it so you can do that. So anyways, the way this sits down in here is this is on the bottom. So it's going to sit in the car kind of like this. Whenever you take this case apart, you really need to mark it. That's what I've always been kind of told. That's what I've always done. I don't know if this can be clocked over a little bit or whatnot. But what I did was, since this is on the bottom, you can't see this. I went ahead and marked it here. There's a line here and a line here. And that way, instead of me just marking it with a marker, that won't wipe away, basically. Something else I did was, this takes a E8. And it looks like that. Kind of like a reverse Torx. And it sits on there. So, there's 3 of those bolts. And for a couple of days, I just put some WD-40 or, you know, whatever penetrating oil you want to use. And I just set it on these threads. I also set it, I can't really see it, lighting's bad. I also squirted some down in that, and it kind of seeped down in there. So, let me show you with the old alternator. This is the one I was going to use and kind of practice on this one, I guess. But this one was bad. Whenever I got this, it was squeaking really bad, and it was just messed up. So it needed to be disassembled and either put new bearings in the back and up here, or it needed to be lubed or something, because there's a bad bearing and it was just squeaking a lot. So I tried to take it apart, and it was seized here and here. And I actually had to break those bolts in order to take it out, which at that point I was like, yeah, no, fine, I'll do that, and I'll take it apart and we'll be good to go from there. Well, and I was thinking, well, I'll just buy new bolts and stick in there. So to take this nut off, just grab a towel, kind of wrap it around there. And I highly recommend using an impact. Otherwise, you know, there's an Allen head there that you can use. Might can help, I don't know. But so see, that just comes off. Don't forget your little spacers. And then this comes out. So then whenever this comes off, you're going to have this, you're going to pull that out. And here was another reason why I wound up taking this one back. See down in there, those springs were wasted, and the bottom spring had sprung. It was stuck down inside there. The rotor was all, I guess this is the rotor. You see how rusty that is, and the winding inside the coil or whatever, that was rusted really bad. But I figure with all that combined, I requested to get a new one. And oh, there's also a bearing that was missing. See that missing bearing right there? But anyways, with all of that together, you know, I was supposed to have a running alternator. So with that one, I learned a couple of things. If those, and these aren't held together really tight, it was a minimal effort to loosen it up. So I would say if all you're doing is just painting this, if it doesn't come loose really quickly, with just a little bit of a turn, it might be seized up in there, and it may not be worth taking it apart. So okay, so with this one, yeah, I used the impact. There's a 24 millimeter, fit on there perfectly. I have these. I'm just keeping all of this in order. Another reason why I wanted to take this apart is there's some debris and junk in there that I want to get out. So there's a spacer here. A little bit of rust on there, that's why that's so hard to get out. Stick your nut on there, just enough so you don't mess up them threads. I don't really know how to show you without being in your way. So that bearing sounds really good. Nice and smooth, not crunchy. But if you look all on the inside of this, there's dirt and grime and all that stuff. So we're going to clean it up. Sit on that outside race. Okay. Now, look on the inside. You have your brushes, and I'll show you how to get those back in there and hold them. So whenever you put this all back together, it'll be easy peasy, good to go. So what you need is some safety wire or solid core wire. All I'm doing is just making this straight. A little spring and the brush. You're just going to feed that in. I'm going to do the bottom one first, and then there's a hole right here. There's a hole right here. Just feed that wire through there. And that will retain that brush in there. So now, back this out just a little bit. So as you can kind of hopefully see, we have that wire that's going through all of that. Now if you really wanted to, you can unsolder this and this part will come out. And whenever you put it back in, obviously just solder it back. I'm not going to do that. Alright, I don't know why it's just stopped recording in the middle of me doing crap. See down in that? Just knocking off the surface rust. I don't know if you saw, but I went over to the bench grinder and used the wire wheel just enough to get the surface rust off. And then I used a little brush to get inside here, just a little hand brush, to get in between these fins and stuff, and it got most of the big chunks out, so that's kind of the main thing. So this bearing is still good. There's no play in it whatsoever. It rolls smooth. There's no jaggedy, crunchy, whatever. So we're good with that. So we're just going to set this aside for now because we're pretty much done with this. I'm just going to clean this up in the parts washer real quick. There's really not much to see on that. I'm just going to clean the case real good. I'm also going to clean this case real good with the parts washer, and I'll be right back. Alright, so got it all cleaned up. Use the compressed air to get all the extra junk out, or the rest of the solvent. And if you don't have solvent, you don't have to use solvent. You can probably use brake cleaner or something like that. And it'd probably do just as fine. So at this point, you can tape up your bearing, and then whenever you can just clean it down with some acetone, and then just come in and spray paint it the way you want. I mean, if you're more professional than I am and you have the high volume, low pressure spray paint that you do that way, and by all means go for it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a wire wheel and go over everything, and that should get the rest of this up. And I will also, you can see here where it was casted, and I'm just going to smooth that out, smooth all that out. There's a little bit there. I'll smooth that out, and then basically put it all back together. Basically the same thing. You'll tape everything up, and you tape that up, wipe it down with acetone, and you'll be good to go. Now remember, we scratched that right there, and that's exactly why, because if you're going to paint this, obviously you don't want your mark showing, but this way you'll have that little bit of a scratch and nobody will ever see it because it'll be underneath, and you're good to go. So this one doesn't have a whole lot of casting marks on it that I can see. Something else is make sure that these little fins are nice and clean. These were completely black, and same thing with that. This is kind of like your little heat sink, so you want that to be clean and not filled up with debris and all that. But yeah, so I'll hit this with a wire wheel, and then we'll put it all back together. Should be good to go. Yeah. Alright, hang in there. We're almost done. Now this is just with the wire wheel. You can see what a big difference that does compared to this. But I still got to get down in these little nooks and crannies. But just wanted to show you the difference that can make. Love these things. Alrighty, so I got this pretty much all cleaned out. I mean, look at that. That looks great. So, might come back with some black. I don't know. It's kind of hard to get all into these little nooks and crannies and all that, but you know, do what you can. Spend as much time as you want to on it. You know, it's up to you. Okay, so again, we have the brushes still held in place with the little wire, and then you're just going to put this down inside there. And if you needed to replace this, with how tight that is, you can't really get anything around that to pull it out. So with these, I'm pretty sure what you have to do is cut these. You gotta cut the outer rays, cut the inner rays, and then you can pull it off. You don't want to hit the winding or the contact here. So again, this bearing could be replaced, but it runs smooth. It's not grabbing. Just makes a little bit of noise, but not squeaky noise. So, like I said, I think it'll be fine. Okay, so you won't be able to see too much, but just going to stab it down in there as straight as possible. Okay, kind of see it kind of shift and fit in there. There we go. So that's nice. Oops. Right there, that's where it needs to be. And before I pull this wire out, I'm going to go ahead and do the top. There's a mark. Kind of hard to see. Getting worried there. You see the mark there? And up there. Okay. I'll get the 3 screws. Always, always, always hand tighten. At least hand start them anyways. So this requires, let's see, foot-pounds, or if you prefer, inch-pounds, or if you prefer, foot-inch pounds. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out now. That allows us to sit in there. Oh yeah, that's a lot nicer than it was. Okay, cool. Now we can kind of set that aside. Dirty, grimy hands, and we can work on this. I'm gonna put this in the sandblaster, and I think I will be painting this. Depends how this turns out. I might paint this just black, as well as finish painting this black too. Alright, you can kind of see how they turned out. And these always look really bad whenever they come out, but they look really frosted. Let me go put it on the wire wheel real quick. I'll show you what it kind of looks like after that. That's how that came out, just on the wire wheel. I'll get down better inside of here. Okay, so I decided to paint it. I'll let you see it once it's put all back together. And I was just going to show you something real quick. If you wanted to, you can take these up to a mirror polish. Like the ones that you buy that have the mirror polish or the polished aluminum. Well, this isn't quite mirror polish, but it's pretty close. So you definitely see the difference. And that, doing this little piece right here, even though this was a flat spot and there's no nooks and crannies I had to get into, that probably took me 15 minutes total. You just work yourself from a coarse all the way down to fine. Sorry, battery died. So you can, if you have the time to do it, you can save yourself some money and just polish your own. That's obviously factory, and that's still old and cruddy and dirty, but you can see the camera there. My hand, my little head. Boop. But and again, there's no little nooks and crannies that I went into to get that, but that only took 15 minutes or so. I went from a coarse, like 60 grit, which was probably too coarse. It was a very well used 60 coarse. You can see that's pretty much needs to be thrown in the trash, but that went from there down to there, and then a surface conditioning disc. This was the coarse. There's a medium, and there's a fine. Straight from there, I went to the polishing wheel and did that, and then my finish is good old Mother's. So, and again, I could probably take a little bit more time and it'd be quite a bit more polished, but just kind of want to give you an idea of what you could do. Alright, and here we are. Here is, it's still wet, but that's what it looks like. Again, you can make it a polish, which, man, looking at that and that, I really want to do that. it looks pretty good like that. But anyways, I'm kind of happy with how it turned out. It did shine up quite a bit. It's still wet. I wanted to put it together so I can edit the video and get this up and going for you guys. And I did a little bit of touch-up paint on the outside of that. Alright guys, well, y'all comment, rate. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. See ya.